This is Tony from Historic American Homes. In this video, I'm going to be doing a real-time modeling session for the balcony, the central balcony on La Lanterne, our little French palace. And I'm running the video at 2 times the actual speed. So if you want to actually see it real time, you'll want to slow the video down by 1/2. But I figured it's fine to show it at double speed here. So the first thing I'm doing is copying one of the side balconies to the central position. We've got 3 balconies on each side, but the balcony in the center is going to have to be a little different, a little wider. So I've copied one of the balconies over to the center, and I've made this center balcony a unique component so that I can edit it without changing the original balconies. And also within that larger component, I have some subcomponents. I have a half balcony, and what I've done is I've also made that a unique component, and now I'm in the process of editing that to begin the new balcony design. The first step was to figure out how much wider I needed to make it, and so I took some measurements off of the old balconies to see how much clearance space I needed on each side, and I'm matching that here. It comes to, I think, 7.5 inches wider on each side. Let's see, what else? I won't narrate this entire video. I'm just going to let it run, but from here and there I may step in and add a comment or two about what I'm doing. Again, these are components and I need to make them unique because I don't want to have them change on the side balconies. And I'm going to reuse the component here to make a new pair of components to fill in that panel space on the left side of the balcony we're looking at right now. To develop these curved elements of wrought iron, I found it easier to work first 2-dimensionally by creating a flat rectangle with a face. There you see I've just clicked on the face and I'm putting in guidelines, and I will develop one edge of the curve on that flat face just using arcs. And once I'm satisfied with the basic shape of the arcs, I will use the offset tool to offset the arc by 1/2 inch. That's the thickness of the iron bar. And so that's the steps I'm doing now. In developing these scrolls, the basic principle is that each quarter of a revolution, each quarter arc of the scroll gets a progressively larger radius or a progressively smaller radius. And they are tangent to each other where they meet each section of the arc. That basic approach gives a pretty good looking scroll. And well, you'll see the results. My first pass at doing the scroll basic curve, I wasn't quite satisfied with it. The proportions didn't look quite right, so I ended up erasing a lot of it and going back in and starting fresh. I figured you didn't need to see all of that. But here and there I have snipped out a bit of the real-time modeling, and I've transitioned so that it should be clear where I've done that. But on the second try here, I got it right. I'm looking at the proportions of the arcs, and they look like I'm on the right track. There I've just done the half-inch offset of my scroll, and I'm thinking about the termination on the inside, which is going to be a 1-inch solid circle. I was working out the design in my head just as I was modeling it at the same time. I didn't do any preliminary sketches, so I didn't really have a plan at the outset. And as it developed, I came to the conclusion that I wanted something that was symmetrical top to bottom as well as side to side. That was just at that point there. And when I got to that point, I kept on modeling using a component that was 1/2 of the panel, which meant that I was repeating stuff top to bottom each time, which was an inefficient thing to do. I went a little further with the modeling that way, and then I realized I really needed to cut the panel in half top to bottom as well as side to side, and mirror it in both directions. So you'll see that I'm going to take a step back at one point coming up and erase the stuff I did at the bottom, and then make a component of what's left and mirror it top to bottom. Hopefully that'll be clear, more clear than the way I just described it. There, I've just erased the bottom half and made a component out of the top half, and now I'm in the process of copying that component down and mirroring it. Copying it down actually means scaling it with a factor of -1. And now what you see in the panel is 4 copies of the same component. Now I've got to figure out how I'm going to fill in that central area so that we still meet code as far as not being able to pass a 4-inch ball through any location in the rail, in the guard. That's my little 4-inch circle up there is my reference. And here I'm drawing a plane, a surface on which to work, a face on which to work as I try to work out the kind of curve and straight pieces I'm going to use to fill in that gap in a way that looks good. Well, that there's pretty ugly. I don't like the way the intersections happen between the two arcs, so I keep fiddling around with it. I'm hesitating. I can't go all the way down and make a full circle because the circle in the middle will be too big. And I was hesitating to go all the way up, and I finally decided that yes, that indeed worked. Wasn't sure about having the curve of that large scroll meet a straight edge at the end, but it came out looking all right. I'm missing the little necking piece that wraps around and ties the bars together down on that bottom leaf. But I caught that once I got finished and I went and put it back in afterwards. I'm also going to find that I'm still having a little trouble with that 4-inch ball, so I ended up moving the leaf, the central leaf, down or up, down, the top one down a little bit in order to finally close off that gap properly. Here I'm just cleaning up the bar. And when the two bars intersect, since they're separate, since we're seeing two components crossing, I have to hide the lines where they intersect in order to make it look like a clean junction of the two actual iron bars. In reality, the iron bars would be continuous and ground down where they meet so that it creates a smooth joint and you don't actually see joints where they cross. Here's where I'm going to make the adjustment to that leaf to block that opening. It's a good idea when you're working out designs like this to try to find ways to incorporate some elements that are flexible in terms of being able to move things around a little bit. Like I could move that leaf up or down a couple of inches either way and it would still look fine. And by having that kind of flexibility, it allows me to, deal with unforeseen things. I don't have to change the entire arrangement because of one small half-inch problem somewhere. So having sometimes like a series of straight bars that can just simply be stretched another inch helps. Or in this case, that little leaf, I can adjust the length of that leaf. This concludes the modeling session. I made a copy of the balcony guard from the front of the house to the back. And let's see, what else is there to say? I hope you enjoyed this. There are quite a few videos in this series now. On the next one, I'm going to be doing some additional work on the plan, finalizing the master bedroom and the family room area, and the elevations of the back of the house. If you enjoyed this, please do subscribe and leave me comments. I welcome questions or ideas. I'd love to know what you think about the work you're seeing here. Have a great day. Thank you.